Hello and welcome to another episode of the So Here For It podcast. My name is Amy Mingin and today we are talking all about perimenopause. So this is something that I talk about a lot. I don't necessarily put it out there on my social media, but with my clients, particularly my Catalyst clients, almost all of them are over 35. Almost all of them have experienced at least a little bit of weight gain. What's normal during perimenopause is anywhere between 2 and 5 kilos relatively quickly. And the reason why it happens, we're going to get into that inside today's episode, because it's not something that you just have to sit back and take. Whilst it is common, it doesn't necessarily need to mean that is normal. It's not something that you have to put up with. It's not something that you have to work harder with, but you do need to be a little bit more strategic. So I'm going to cover what is happening during perimenopause, why it happens, and some tangible things that you can do today so that you can feel so much better in your body in 2026. Deal? Okay, let's get started. Now, they say that perimenopause is kind of like a second puberty. We have the highs and lows of estrogen coming and going more regularly than our standard period time between the ages of, say, like 18 through to about 30. It's relatively normalized through those years, but as soon as we get over 35, everything starts to change. Some women have even said that some of their perimenopause symptoms have started as early as 30, like some of them. But I think the more you look after yourself, the less likely you are to experience extreme perimenopause. And so listen in today as to why things happen, and then you're going to be able to prevent it. Because you don't need to cut calories, you don't need to work out every single day, but you do need to be strategic. And I really want to give you some really great strategies in order to feel so much better in your body, but also not have to put up with the crazy hormones that so many people have. Now, one of the biggest things that women will say that they get is this weight around the midsection, weight in the arms, weight in the tops of the legs, and around the bum. They will feel a bit saggier. They'll feel like their face has started to drop. They'll often say, oh, I woke up and all of a sudden I looked older. I woke up and all of a sudden I wobbled more. I had cellulite. My clothes weren't fitting properly. And it can feel like it happens overnight. And that's because the hormonal changes are quite rapid. Now, here's what you need to know. The hormonal changes are normal, but you don't need to have such high highs and low lows. Because the problem with some of these high highs and low lows is your microbiome changes, your cravings change, your energy changes, but also your neurotransmitters change. So the decisions that you used to be able to make back when it was easy to, you used to be able to override and be disciplined and say no to things. And all of a sudden, you're kind of questioning everything. So you don't need to follow all of the influencer stuff. You don't need to try and get yourself on blood sugar medication by any means unless it's been prescribed to you. What you do need to do is actually find the dietary and lifestyle strategies that really work for you. Now, I know in last episode I spoke about estrogen and I spoke about progesterone. I haven't spoken about testosterone, but what I want you to know is if you're getting symptomatic, what's most important is to, number one, start to track when you ovulate and if you ovulate. Now, you know that you're ovulating if you notice a clear egg white mucus at least 1 day per month when you wipe. You can track it with a thermometer and you can also track it with the changes in libido as well. So those few things, you can actually track your cycle naturally. Some women never learn how to track their cycle until they're in their 40s, and that is so okay, so long as you know when you ovulate. Why do we want to know that you're ovulating? Because then we want to know, okay, well, what is your luteal phase like? So your luteal phase is the 2 weeks after your period. Now, this is often when most women get symptomatic. They get more bloating, they get migraines, headaches, tension, their stress tolerance goes down. This is really, really common. And again, you don't have to overdo it during this time. A lot of people will overdo it, and that's why they become symptomatic. So if you're really, really tired, rest. You don't have to go and work out really, really hard on those days if you are tired. Go for a walk. It is still really great to go for a walk. Some of the best fat burning activity happens while we're walking. But the thing that's actually the best and the most beneficial is actually the foods that we're eating. So we'll get into the foods in just a minute. I want you to have a think about what is your daily routine like? And if it's super busy, I want you to figure out what's the most important things that you have to keep. And then what are some of the things that you can lay down or put down or do less of in that luteal phase? Because what you'll find is if you give yourself less things you have to do during that luteal phase, you'll actually feel so much better inside yourself. There's something that I say to people is all of the emotional excavating happens in luteal. The things that piss you off, the people that piss you off, the things that you haven't done, the ways you feel about yourself, all of those emotions are going to come up inside luteal phase. And if you don't give yourself space in order to feel it or tune into it, or at the very least, just write about it, what's going to happen? It's going to come up in a different form of a symptom. So it's either going to come out in stress in the brain, tension in the body, heavy periods, clotty periods, different ways that you're going to feel about yourself. And it just doesn't feel good to anybody. So here's what I'm saying. In your luteal phase, slow down, take it easy. Book yourself in to a spa. That's what I really like to do in my luteal phase, is book myself in to do a sauna, cold plunge, magnesium spa. Works so, so well. And if you have a bath at home, you can take a magnesium bath. You could get some essential oils. Rose essential oil is very, very balancing. Clary sage essential oil, very balancing. You can start to bring these little rituals into your life so you actually feel so much better inside yourself. And I know you might be like, well, it's not going to pay the bills. It's not going to make the housework get done and all of that. But what it will do is it'll actually reset your nervous system. That's the most important thing. Okay. So now we've got that right. I think once you get the stress management right, then you can get the food right. And with the food, because a lot of people think they can exercise their way out of perimenopause, and it just ain't the truth. There's two different ways during perimenopause that I will say work really well. And you'll probably see some of the more extreme influencers online saying do fasting and all these things. But if you're already stressed, fasting is a no-go. My suggestion is making sure whatever you're eating is right for you. And how do you know if it's right? You test it out. So if you're eating whole foods, that's most important. Set yourself up for success by going shopping, cook yourself some whole foods, make sure it's high protein. Some of the people out there will say during perimenopause, they've become so insulin resistant that they can't eat carbs. And maybe for a period of time, you could cut the carbs out and see how you feel. Some people feel terrible from it. So my suggestion is, this is why I say there's two schools of thought here. I don't mind if you try low carb. If you're getting really puffy, carbs hold water in the body. If you're somebody who feels like they get brain fog, you probably notice if you cut the carbs down, you might feel better. But there is some people that actually do better with a little bit of carb. So you might need to play around with the portion size. And this is exactly what I take people through during Catalyst. Catalyst is my signature weight release program. And it's something that I created after working with women for almost 2 decades now. And almost everybody, they want to release at least a couple of kgs. They want to release 10 kgs, whatever it is. Some of the more recent people who have come through have been away to Europe and they've got home. They're like, okay, I'm ready to work off my croissants. But it's not just about that. To me, it's about building you up in a way to have a better relationship with your body, have a better relationship with your food, but also to get used to how to look after yourself. Most of us were never taught. And if you're never taught to look after yourself, I'm going to teach you. So that's really what Catalyst is about. Catalyst is the catalyst. It changes your life. It's not just about the food. People think they're going to go on a diet, but it's not just about the food. It's about the lifestyle and it's about who you become on the other side. So if you're keen, I'm going to pop the link into the show notes. And thank you so much for listening today, and I'll see you on the next episode.